Guys, let's talk about the brand new 40-minute premiere episode of the 2017 incarnation of Ducktales. To answer the question that all of you are frantically typing into the comment section right now, yes, I will be reviewing these episodes as they air. I don't know that I'm going to be doing that for the show's entire run, but as of right now, the show has impressed me enough that I do intend to review these episodes. I don't think there are any more new ones for a while. I think this was kind of a one-off thing until the show premieres normally, but assuming that I'm wrong and this is going to be a new weekly show, then I'll have a new review out for you guys next week. If I'm right and this show doesn't get another episode for, I think I read somewhere it's like another month or something, then I will have that new review up for you guys in another month. Just like every other new episode of a show that I'm currently reviewing, I will do my best to get the review out the next day. Obviously that didn't happen this week, but what are you going to do? And to answer a question that none of you realized you wanted to know the answer to, as this is a current running mystery/adventure show, I will be as minimalistic as possible regarding the plots in my reviews. I.e., I will be talking about them as little as possible so to avoid spoiling big mystery reveals and big twist episodes. For example, the 2 episodes that made up this 40-minute special can be summed up as a 22-minute introduction to the character and themes, and an example of what the standard adventure in this show might look like, an overview of the format overall, and an introduction to the main villain. Conceptually speaking, this show is exactly the same as the original run of Ducktales that aired back in 1987. It is about Donald Duck's 3 nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, going to stay with their uncle Scrooge McDuck and ending up going on adventures with him. It is obviously updated and modernized for the times, but conceptually speaking, that is the foundation of this story. And as an introductory episode, or a couple of introductory episodes, this was fantastic. An absurdly strong cartoon premiere. DuckTales was a huge deal back in 1987. We're talking about the 1980s here, where cartoons were primarily designed to sell toys and nothing more. A company would develop a new toy line, and so they would hire a bunch of writers and animators to come in and tell a story involving the characters in that toy line so that kids would buy it. Yes, occasionally you'd get a writer's room full of enough really good writers that they'd still produce something great. The original Transformers, for example, despite being a really uneven show at times, I think is still a really good show, especially for the time period. G.I. Joe would be another example, or if you're looking for a girl toy example, Gem and the Holograms comes to mind. These were shows that all tried to break a mold, to be, if not great, then at least good, in spite of what it was that they were and what they were dictated to be by the network. That's just the way that things were, and then all of a sudden, DuckTales comes along. All of a sudden, a company as powerful and as influential as Disney is telling people that that's the wrong way to go. Yes, DuckTales was intended to make money, but it was not designed primarily just to advertise a toy line. It was designed to tell a story first. And it spawned a new era of Disney television. Other shows with the same basic goal. It can even be argued that when other networks started to follow Disney's example in this case, it led to great shows like Batman the Animated Series and Beast Wars, and sparked the cartoon renaissance. All of that can be traced back to DuckTales. So in this era of terrible cartoon reboots, the mere idea of rebooting DuckTales likewise was terrifying. Yes, there have been some really good reboots. Like, I would call Transformers Prime a reboot, and it is objectively a better show than the original 80s Transformers. Guys, I love the original 80s Transformers. It's one of the few cartoons that I own every single episode of on DVD, but Transformers Prime, a show with a very similar theme, is objectively better. Sorry. You have other great examples in the 2012 incarnation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, which took one of the most laughed at, made-to-sell toy cartoons and turned it into something that's respectable. But especially in recent years, cartoon reboots have been awful. From Teen Titans Go to the Powerpuff Girls reboot to Ben 10, this current era of cartoons seems to be doing its very best to ruin some of the greatest animated shows of all time. I was genuinely worried that DuckTales was going to be in a very similar vein, and I am so excited to say that those worries were completely unfounded. This is more in line with a Transformers Prime, or a TMNT 2012. Granted, DuckTales was already a story-oriented show, so it couldn't really make as many beneficial changes as those other reboots could, but it certainly did its best to make them where it could. And I'm not saying I don't like the original show. I really do. It's really good. But there were certain things about it that annoy even diehard fans. The nephews, for example, didn't have much individuality. They were kind of annoying, and their being left with Scrooge was more of a plot point that got some kid characters into the story than it was a legitimate contribution to the plot. In the reboot, each one of them seems very different from the others, and they actually have a real purpose in the story. Their presence is what inspires Scrooge to start adventuring again. Scrooge himself isn't so money-obsessed as his old counterpart. He's more in it for the adventure now than anything else, because he's already got money. He doesn't need more. This makes him a more relatable and more likable character, and someone that we're much happier to put ourselves in the place of. The boys aren't just dumped here for the entire duration of the show. Donald Duck is actually going to have a role in the series. He's going to be around for this. And the character of Webby from the original show, the girl duck, quote-unquote, who was inarguably the worst part of the original show, is one of the best parts of this series. More subjectively, of course, whereas the humor in the original series was very hit and miss for me, and still is even to this day, the humor in this show was spot on. The way that it was seamlessly injected into action-oriented and adventure-oriented scenes felt like something akin to Gravity Falls. In fact, I would go so far as to agree with some of the people who are saying this could be the new Gravity Falls. It has that kind of potential. 30 years ago, networks followed in the example of Ducktales, and great things happened. In this era of the worst cartoon reboots and revivals that I can possibly imagine, I can only hope that television once again follows in the footsteps of Ducktales. Because I don't have an issue with reboots. I just have an issue with bad reboots. If you don't intend to make any beneficial changes to the story, there's no point in making it. DuckTales is just as much a model television reboot of a beloved classic as the Power Rangers movie was a model example of how to reboot a beloved classic in movie form. I absolutely loved the first 2 episodes of this show, and if you guys enjoyed something like Gravity Falls, for example, or if you even just love the original DuckTales, you're going to like this too. It may not be able to outbattle your nostalgia and become your new favorite rendition of the story, but you will at the very least like it. And considering the kind of viewers that I attract, I'm just going to go ahead and say that you'll probably all like it and that I recommend it to all of you. Oh, and did I mention that David Tennant plays Scrooge McDuck in this version? And it's beautiful? Because David Tennant plays Scrooge McDuck in this version. And it's beautiful. I can't wait for more of this show. I'm so excited to be talking about it with you guys, and hopefully, and I say this with a degree of expectation because it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, hopefully there will be things to theorize in regard to this show too. So let's keep our fingers crossed about that. In the meantime though guys, I'd like to know, of course, as usual, what did you think of these episodes if you have seen them? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22 and I will talk to you guys later.